Hello?
Oh, hi, is that Robert Skinner?
Yes, that's right. Speaking. How are you?
Yeah, fine. You've just left a message on our answer machine at our Kingdom Hall.
Yes.
Yeah, just wondering if you could take our number off your list, please, if that's okay.
Well, I want to. I've been on your website. I want to know why you deny that Jehovah is omnipresent.
Yeah, no, I wasn't ringing to engage you. I was just asking you to take us off your list, if that's all right.
Well, Jesus said, "Go to all the world and preach the gospel." So why don't you start with me? Now, Insight in the Scriptures, Volume 1, page 969 says, "The true God is not omnipresent."
Robert, thanks for your call, but all I'm ringing is to ask you to take us off your list. I don't give you permission to record this as well, so if I'm on YouTube, then
you know they all go on YouTube. Yeah, you know I stick them all on YouTube. I mean, it's wonderful because it demonstrates that Jehovah's Witnesses can't ask simple Bible questions about their own beliefs and their own literature.
Can I ask you one question, Mr. Skinner?
Absolutely, yeah.
Just one question. I am, and I genuinely mean this. I'm absolutely curious, and not to get into a biblical debate, but what's your motivation for doing this? I genuinely am curious.
I used to be a oneness Pentecostal. I got converted to a non-Trinitarian cult in the 1980s called Oneness, or Jesus Only. They're absolutely huge, many, many, many times the size of Jehovah's Witnesses, probably 25 to 50 million at least.
I understand that, but what's your motivation for calling hundreds of
thousands. Thousands. I've got over 3,200 recordings of Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, I got converted in 1988 to the Oneness Pentecostal movement. I was very confused when I was in it. I was young, I was sincere, and I wrote a tract for them offering £1,000 on the back if you could prove the Trinity, because Oneness denies the Trinity. And it's a long story. But I got into a lift at work. I was working as a security guard in the Broadgate building in London. There was one piece of graffiti in the whole building. It was the word Cornelius. They just built the Broadgate building. And I was doing the midnight, rounds. Cornelius was written on a lift, exactly the same as in my King James Bible. I got my little tract out where I offered £1,000 if you could prove the Trinity. And I looked at Acts chapter 10. And I'd made a mistake. I'd written Cornelius was a Samaritan, whereas it was the previous reference that I had used in Acts 8, where that referenced the Samaritans. I went on my knees. I opened my little King James Bible. I went on my knees and I just prayed, Lord, I will obey you, whatever you reveal to me, whether the Trinity is true or the Trinity is false, I will obey you. All I ask is one thing, show me what's right from the Bible. And very quickly, the Lord showed me that the oneness doctrine was wrong, that Jesus is both God and man. I remember we used to go to these endless meetings. We had meetings almost every day of the week. You see, you're kept so busy you can't think for yourself in these cults, in the oneness cult. And I went to France with my mother, and she just remarried with my stepfather and my brother. And we were driving to Dover, I think it was, or wherever the port was. And I'd forgotten my passport. Well, we decided to get on the ferry, and I prayed. And when we got to France, the customs man, he had the 3 passports. He looked at them, he counted them, he looked in the car, he counted 4 of us, and he waved us through. And I had a week or 2 weeks without going to any of these meetings, any of this pressure that was put on me. And when I came back, it's a very, very long story, but the Lord showed me that it was wrong. Shortly after that, I was working somewhere else as a porter at the front desk, and a taxi driver came in and noticed it was again late at night. I did the late shifts. He noticed I was reading a book, a Christian book, and he said, "Oh, can I send my uncle or relative, cousin or uncle or somebody to see you?" He's the presiding overseer of a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall. And this was the first Jehovah's Witness I'd really spoken to, well, the first one I'd spoken to as a young Christian person. I had met Jehovah's Witnesses before when I was an unbeliever. And he came to my house, and I had studied the topic that we're going to look at. I'd written some notes in my Bible, and I was just amazed because everything he raised I was able to answer. I'd heard this story that Jehovah's Witnesses were these incredible people who knew everything about the Bible and could answer any Bible question. This presiding overseer was clueless. I think the book was Jehovah's Witnesses Answered Verse by Verse by Reed, which I don't actually regard now as a terribly good book. Reed's a dispensationalist for a start. But I copied the salient parts into my Bible, and I annihilated this Jehovah's Witness. And I never really looked back. That was 1989 when I came out of the oneness, and I would have had this discussion with the presiding overseer. I wasn't very graceful to him because I remember he stormed out of my flat in London, in Limehouse in London, and he's walking down the street, and I was shouting after him, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." So I wasn't very gracious, and I hope I wouldn't do that now. But I got the bug of sharing the gospel with people, and hopefully obeying what Jesus said, "Go ye unto all the world and preach the gospel to every creature." So I remember that. I mean, this is from 1989 to the early 2000s. I would speak face to face to numerous people, Mormons. I remember there was one day I'd moved down to Cornwall. I was living in a Christian centre in Cornwall. It was one of the most wonderful Saturdays of my life because I spoke to the Jehovah's Witnesses. I don't know who was first. Then I also spoke to the Mormons. They called. And then finally there was a Christadelphian couple who called. They were very grumpy because they couldn't find accommodation. They'd driven especially to see me. And they weren't too pleased when they met me because anything they raised, I kind of blew it out of the water immediately. It's one of my faults. I can be a little pugnacious, a little bit impatient. Perhaps I should take more of a more gentle tone. And then, of course, the internet started. I remember going on to Paltalk for 3 years or 4 years. I ran a room in Paltalk. I was worked under the name of Limey Bob. One reasonably famous Christian apologist came in the room regularly, and we ran the room together sometimes. Matt Slick of the CARM website, CARM, Christian Apologetics and Ministry, something. I can't remember the name, but CARM. But and then, of course, YouTube. A couple of years later, for the last 10 years, I've been speaking on YouTube. I wasn't really able to do this much before because I couldn't afford a phone. But I now have a phone with an unlimited contract here in the UK. If only I had a contract that would allow me to phone all over the world. Believe me, I would be phoning every single English-speaking Kingdom Hall all over the world. But I also do Mormons. I've gone through a list of every Mormon contact in the UK. I've done every Christadelphian in the UK. I've gone through the various oneness denominations. I've done every single member I can of the United Pentecostal Church, Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, True Jesus Church. They're a really weird group. And then I've also done Iglesia Ni Christu, which are perhaps very similar doctrinally to Jehovah's Witnesses, but far more nasty. They're from the Philippines. And some of these groups are really, really nasty. African groups, again, I've gone through the list. Sorry about Percy chiming in the kitchen. I've done in Nigerian groups, Winners Chapel and RCCG. I haven't done them for about 2 or 3 years, so I need to do them again. I'll go through every single contact, every single pastor, and discuss tithing with them and how the leader of their church have, in the case of Winners Chapel, he's had 4 jets. He currently has 2. I'd have to research this again and find the latest news. And the other one has had 2 jets, but he's only got 1 jet at the moment. Oh, and the first pastor, the last count, apart from his jets, he had a personal wealth of 150 million. So I would discuss tithing with these people. And are you still there, or have you hung up? Hello? Okay, well, I think he's the phone call is still going on, so it's clicking through the seconds, but he's not replying, so maybe I said too much, which I usually do. But if you're still listening to me, thank you very much indeed for at least speaking to me briefly. And this will go up on YouTube, and I think the number for this video will be 3,234. So onwards towards 4,000 videos. But if only I could contact, I'd love to do the Republic of Ireland. I also can't do the Isle of Man, Jersey and Guernsey because of various technical reasons. Although they're part of the UK, the phone network has different regulations and fees. But if only I could do the USA. I think there's something online where I can phone, I can take out a contract and buy so many minutes, like 1,000 minutes. So maybe I can do something like that as a treat. I do have something that belonged to my father that I'm thinking of selling. How much I get from it, I don't actually know. But yes, maybe I could sell that and buy some minutes to phone Jehovah's Witnesses in Ireland and America. And then, of course, I can do the other groups as well. Oneness Pentecostals, Mormons, Christadelphians, Iglesia Ni Cristo, Winners Chapel, and RCCG. One of those two groups, I forget whether it was Winners Chapel or RCCG, they put an African curse on me. They said I was going to die. Yeah, I had an African curse put on me. And I have been warned by people that some of the people I'm contacting, I have to be very, very careful because outside of the UK, if you contact some African church groups in Africa, they will actually kill you. And I've also been warned to be very careful about Iglesia Ni Cristo. They are extremely dangerous. And of course, I'm phoning mosques at the moment as well. So are you still there? Can you hear me? You still there? Mosques, that's another thing that I'm doing. I'm up to 450 videos contacting mosques. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for listening to me. Bye-bye.